Today, I want to dive into a topic that resonates deeply in our increasingly polarized world, and that is the use of conflict as a powerful strategy for learning. We're living in times where issues like race, gender, economic inequality, migration, war, religion, climate change, and etc. create significant divides in our society. These conflicts are frequently mirrored in education settings and platforms from primary schools to institutions of higher learning, serving as a microcosm of the larger world outside. At the heart of many conflicts lies a lack of understanding, empathy, and a fear of the unknown. However, the key to navigating these complexities lies in education. It's striking how often world conflicts are debated and adjudicated within education institutions. Yet these discussions can fall into superficial patterns, leaving the deeper issues unaddressed. When we take the time to peel back the layers of conflict, we frequently uncover a shared desire among individuals to be understood and to restore peace. So this is where restorative justice comes into play. A well-developed and executed restorative justice strategy provides a framework for addressing harm caused by conflict, fostering understanding, and paving the way for healing. It enables us to confront our differences while unveiling the common human experiences that unite us all. Today, I'm excited to speak with Robert Howard, an expert facilitator, trainer, and advocate for restorative justice practices in education and beyond. So how are things in Santa Monica nowadays?
Busy. I can't complain though. You know,
Okay.
it's just always dealing with people. When there's people, there's always something to do.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. Well, you saw my opening remarks around this conflict and how restorative justice can actually help us create empathy and so on. What are your thoughts on what I have to say about that?
Listen, I think that, so for my work that I've done in the community for like the last 20 years
Yeah.
has been really about trying to raise the value of the relationships that we have with people.
Yeah.
Empathy is a key component to that.
Yeah.
So everything you talk of is 100% on board, in harmony with what I believe.
Yeah.
I think that we all could do a better job of being more inclusive, respectful, compassionate to others, including ourselves, but
Absolutely.
others.
Absolutely. Well, I was a firm believer in restorative justice before I went to Santa Monica, Malibu.
Right.
And it was going to be one of the first initiatives I wanted to implement because I wanted to make sure that our students, our staff, our community is able to engage in positive conversations, even through conflict, because I know the power of it. So, but as soon as I got there, I learned about you.
Yeah.
You're one of the first people I met. And I immediately took you out of Santa Monica High and made you a district coordinator.
Yeah,
to
man, I
help
appreciate
us
that.
with restorative justice, and you went to work. So why don't you tell the people out there what restorative justice is and isn't, because there's so much misinformation about it out there sometimes.
Yeah. I'll start off with what it isn't.
Okay.
I've been doing restorative justice work before it was called restorative justice work.
Okay.
Right? The term restorative justice is something that's big in schools and communities, but I think people get confused with what it isn't. It's not a magical pill. It's not a magic wand. It's not a magic bullet that can fix all things for all people in one moment.
Yeah.
It is not supposed to be a reason or a practice that justifies letting people get away with anything.
Yeah.
That's not what restorative
Yeah.
justice is about.
Thank you. Thank you for saying that.
What I believe and what I practice as a restorative justice mindset is people are going to make mistakes.
Yes.
There's going to be conflict. The first half of what restorative justice is in relationship building.
Yes.
So as getting to know you, breaking bread, we went to eat, we had conversations about who we are, what we believe, what our goals are, what challenges are coming up. We're getting to know each other, right?
Yeah.
Restorative justice should focus on the front end on relationship building.
Yeah.
Right? How do you strengthen those relationships that are already there? How do you repair some that are lost?
Yeah.
And how do you build some that are not existing?
Yeah.
The second side of restorative justice, I think, is the part that people get the most excited about, and probably are like Googling about what restorative justice is, which is like when someone breaks a rule, when someone causes harm, when someone breaks a law, when there's conflict, what do you do to move forward? And restorative justice focuses on non-punitive, non-violent ways to address that, to hold people accountable, to move forward. One of the godfathers of restorative justice, his name is Howard Zehr. He teaches a quote that I use all the time in my workshops and my trainings. He said, if crime is a wound, justice should be healing.
Wow.
So that's what it's about. It's about how do you make things right for those who've been affected.
Wow.
Yeah.
You know, one of the trainings I sat in on, and I think you were in front of parents, and I think it was from families from Malibu, I remember, and we were having a session that you were treating about community circles and so on. And I think you provided a definition of punishment versus discipline.
Yes, I love that question.
Punishment versus discipline.
Yes.
Could you expand? I thought that was so profound.
Well, if you've ever been in any of my workshops or trainings, anybody can say, yep, he did it with mine. One of the questions that I ask is always, what is the difference between punishment and discipline and punishment? And what's interesting is I remember sitting in a training where my trainer, my facilitator, was presenting that question. And I was like, I don't think I'd ever been asked, what is the difference? They sound like, in my brain, synonyms. They sound like the same thing, right? And when I asked that question in a workshop or training, the third word comes up too. Consequences, right? So I think, depending on the person, they're saying the same thing. But here's where I answer the question. Discipline is about making things better, especially the person that might have caused harm or broken a rule. It should get better for them specifically, but other people that have been affected by what they did. Punishment is just about something has to happen. You did something, something has to happen. And it might have nothing to do with what you did. Like, for example, we played sports. You're a football guy. I played basketball. Played football for a little bit, but I'm not going to use that example. There was consequences. There were punishments all throughout sports culture. And some of them had nothing to do with what happened or making anything better. It's just something had to happen. You were late, you had to go run. You forgot your shoes, your right pad, whatever. You had to do push-ups and do squats or hold this position. You have to suffer because you made a mistake. And because I wanted to play the sport, I'll deal with the suffering. Why that doesn't work in like things like education or in social society is, if I already don't care about this thing, your punishment is arbitrary and it doesn't make me want to do anything. You can't hold me. Call my mama. Kick me off the team. I'm not running. Now what you gonna do? Right? Like, I didn't want to be here anyway. So I'm not invested.
So there's no intrinsic motivation there at all.
We know it doesn't work. We can look at the data and say punishment hasn't changed anything. We have more things that we punish about and more people getting punished. Right? And we're really good in the United States. We are really good at punishing people.
And as a result, when somebody often punished and there's no repair, that person may harbor some feelings or whatnot, and it'll manifesting in itself in a different way. It could be when they're an adult, or in their relationships, or it could just be on school, or them shutting down in school, not furthering their education and getting lost in the system.
And it costs everybody money. There's nothing more dangerous, especially today in schools, public schools, private schools, religious schools, different independent schools, charter schools. There's nothing more dangerous than a person who doesn't care.
Wow. That's profound.
That's profound. What do you do with that person? You better have a strong security team with a bunch of weapons to deal with someone who might not care and then do something because of it. Right? If I don't care about this place, I don't care about these people, I don't care about what y'all talking about, I don't care about the system, I don't care about me. Now you got a problem, and it's going to cost you some money.
Oh, wow. So without giving any names, so we want to identify anybody.
Right.
Once you give examples of some of the most profound restorative justice conferences you had, where could it be in group settings, or in just one-on-ones, or you facilitating between two people?
Okay, there's a million that come up. I'm gonna give you two that I share comfortably.
Yeah.
One was at a camp where I was doing a camp under Barack Obama's initiative. He had My Brother's Keeper, Sons and Brothers, was something that the state of California invested in. Investing every year a lot of resources and energy and money in developing sustainable leadership in young men of color.
Yeah.
And we had a camp for 7 days up in the mountains.
Yeah.
And it's supposed to be beautiful.
Yeah.
So you're in nature,
Yeah.
they're feeding you, you have all the food from the buffet, 3 meals a day, there's deer walking around, and there's night hikes and a pool and a basketball, all the activities, including a ropes course.
Yeah.
Right, where you can put your helmet, your harness on, and you go up. We had young men from Del Norte, California.
Del Norte, I know.
Far up, close to the line. Right?
I know them because they have a killer football program.
Yes.
We used to, when I was a Prince of Clovis West, we used to go up there and play them all the time. Yeah.
So you know what's going on. So near Del Norte, there's a lot of tribal lands.
Yeah.
Indigenous Native boys came to camp from the Del Norte tribal lands.
Yeah.
And they are not used to systems. They're not used to school systems the way our American boys are. They're not, they don't get dealt with the same way, right?
Yeah.
So we're trying to do camp, which is very similar to school, right? And these kids didn't really fit. And they weren't rolling with the rules. They were like, why I got to put a helmet on? I do this at my mama house. And I built my own zip line. And why I got to... And it was like, we didn't see that.
Yeah.
We wanted all to come,
Yeah.
but we weren't prepared with the challenges that come with all the folks that do come and what their needs are and what their expectations are. And there was a young man who struggled to follow instruction. And because I was doing restorative justice, I got to build a lot of one-on-one time with him. And he got so frustrated during one ropes course thing that was just going slow. It wasn't fun. He was like, what are we doing? Like, why are we indoors in nature all day? You could have did this in the city.
Yeah.
Why you bring us to camp and do all these classes and this little workshop stuff, and nature is beautiful. So he was already pissed, right?
Yeah.
So when we got to the ropes course and they were just stressing him out,
Yeah.
he was like, I'm out. And he just took off and went on a hike by himself.
Oh, wow.
Right?
Wow.
So one of the mentors, one of the youth leaders, was like, what do we do? So they end up following him, called me on the cell phone, like, hey man, he's not he's not even where we're supposed to be.
Yeah.
We're going up a mountain, he won't stop.
Yeah.
And the only thing he was stopped for was one of our elders that he really respected, an African American elder, and me, who had built a lot of relationships, sat down, we ate, broke bread. And he was like, I ain't coming down until one of y'all come. So it ain't gonna be the elder. Yeah. It's got to be me. So I get up there through that relationship, and I had a GoPro on my hat, and my homeboy's going with me. Now, mind you, I didn't bring no shoes to go hiking. I'm in Jordans.
Wow.
Marsh.
Slipping everywhere.
My shoes are done. I don't have those shoes no more. And my boy is, trying to go, and he's like, man, what you gonna do when you see him? I was like, I'm gonna give him a hug.
Yeah.
Because I appreciate him giving us a chance, giving me a chance.
Yeah.
To see what's going on and how do we move forward. Bro, I get to him, I give him a hug, we talk. I'm like, I know you're frustrated after talking to me. I was like, I understand you're frustrated with how this thing was, and this is not what you thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
And it's not working for you, clearly. We need to figure out how to make this work to the end, but we need to get off this mountain because the sun is setting, dinner time is going on, we have other activities at night. How do I get you off this mountain? He's like, I want to take this bolt, this little rock, and I want to go climb up this little peak, and then I'll calm down and I'll come down. And I was like, all right, well, we're all going to go up this mountain with you. Wow. So instead of being like, if you don't get your little narrow booty, we didn't come with that energy, because we would have been in a war that we wouldn't have won.
Yeah.
We would have had to get rid of him, pay all the money, deal with the frustration and all the backlash and the negativity. We had to be like Bruce Lee says, be like water. Yeah. Right? So that's one, bro. Like, how do we know what our goal is to get through the night, to get through the week, and for him to be blessed by this experience that we cooked for him. Yeah. Right? We built these experiences for young men like him too. Yeah. Right? So he taught us how to climb. And this young hooper, he was a hooper kid. This one hooper kid is showing us how to get up this slippery slope. He put the rock down, and then he had to show us how to get down safely. Wow. Right? So instead of us trying to teach him about manhood and teach him about masculinity and emotions and teach him about leadership, I empowered him to show us what you know. Because your position might, because of your age, and because of your connection to this experience, puts you in a student seat, but you actually are a phenomenal teacher. You have so much wisdom that we can benefit from, including how to get off of this mountain safely. Stuff like that, right? I could have given them a consequence, but it wouldn't have done anything. It would have put us in further away from each other.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
By the end of the camp, I gave him my GoPro because I wanted him to make content about his life, his community, his experiences, his goals, his talents, all the things that he wanted to do, because he was so curious about my GoPro.
Wow.
Right?
Wow.
I'm like, I can afford to give away this GoPro.
Yeah.
But he had to earn it.
Wow.
Right? So from that experience, the GoPro's introduced to him, and then he worked to get the GoPro.
Wow.
Right?
Wow.
Like, that's just one example. But I mean, I get called in for restorative justice on all kind of stuff. It could be institutional stuff like racism and homophobia, sexism, anti-Semitism, all the things that can be really, really harmful, especially when you read the email.
Yeah.
But when you get to talk to the people, what happened and how did it happen and who did what, what's the motive behind it, it's not what it looks like on the news clip.
Well, this is all about, we all want the same thing as human beings.
Yes.
We all want to be heard. We want to have a nice life. We want to raise our families. And it's so confusing to me why we get into these conflicts. And I think the way out of this is restorative justice, like I said in the intro. So with all the stuff that's going on in the world right now, where do you think restorative justice can really play a role? Particularly if you think about it, if it's in public education.
Yes.
That means, and if this is a part of the system, and we actually make it a tier 1 approach in a school or in a district or whatnot, that will mean every student has access to this kind of process and this kind of conversation through restorative justice, and the teachers know how to employ it, and the educators know how to employ it, and so on. Yeah. So if that was to happen, what do you think would happen when we face with conflicts on campuses? I'm only asking this because I know we have dealt with this at the schools. You know, sometimes we have a whole
and there's so much more to work.
Yeah.
I think that public education as an institution is a missed opportunity if all we're doing is teaching young people how to count, how to read, how to write. Yeah. Right? We got computers, we got phones in our pockets that are more powerful than the computers that we had in the White House and in college when we were in college. Wow. My son's phone in his pocket is a smarter computer. So it's not so much that you're a good student because you remember all the dates and all the formula. Yeah. We got AI now. We got quick access to resources. It's not your ability to get the information or know the information. I think an opportunity that school has in the future is to help develop a society of human beings that can work through challenges without making challenges more challenging, without pushing people to the brinks, without making things worse. Yeah. So I believe that restorative justice, in connection to social emotional learning, in connection to PBIS, and support with all the arts and all the things that schools provide with the social settings and the social circles, is an opportunity for human beings to model and to teach what kind of people do we want? What does leadership look like? How do you resolve problems? How do you connect with people who are different than you? You got a collar shirt on, I don't have a collar shirt on. Yeah. That's not a reason for us not to like each other, talk to each other, eat lunch with each other.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Because there's something about us that if we would just look a little deeper, there's something beautiful here. Absolutely. And even if we have a lot in common, there's some diversity there. There's something different, even though we both have shirts on, there's some diversities here that are valuable. So celebrate the differences and bring the connections and the compassionate connections to each other. Restorative justice is supposed to do that. And I think that what's scary about that in education is even if the school is doing it well, we have to make sure we're doing it well with the parents and the community. Absolutely. And if the parent in the community area is doing well, how do we empower, support, and challenge the schools to do it and do it for real? Yeah. So there's a lot of work that has to be done. Yeah.
But it's well worth it. It's well worth it. You know, there was a scenario this past January that I really thought about you and restorative justice and how this can really help situations like I'm about to describe. This is a high school that I know very well. Not anyone ever see, but the superintendent is a good friend of mine who happened to call me and was just frustrated with what's happening on his schools. Mm-hmm. after the elections, Donald J. Trump won the elections.
Right.
And obviously there are some people that are pretty happy about that, and other people are upset.
Right.
And
There's a line.
That's just democracy in America. But we also know this situation is different because it's so polarizing.
It is.
Right. So
and it's like build.
Absolutely.
We're getting to a point, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So after the elections, a group of students, and there was a huge number of them, came on campus wearing their MAGA uniforms and really celebrating the win and so on. I don't think they were doing anything negative. They were just praising that they won.
Celebrating the win.
Yeah, but you have another group of students that took offense to that and thought they were being respectful, and things like racism was thrown around.
Of course.
And then all of a sudden, obviously, some of the people, not obviously, but some of the people who were in support of Donald Trump also got frustrated, and they throwing words at each other, and it got pretty heated.
Of course.
So this superintendent buddy of mine called me, "Hey, Ben, what would you do with this?" So my first question to him was, "Do you have restorative justice in your schools?" And he said no. I said, "Oh God, that's."
That would have been a great thing to already have there.
Yeah. But now, just think about it. How does he even handle this situation?
Yeah.
You got the minute he chooses a side, he's in trouble. He can't choose a side. So the point is, what restorative justice would have done is it would have brought a facilitator in, and groups would have met. They would have discussed about what the issue is, what the harm is, and how to repair.
Yes.
And then at that point, they're going to learn to understand that they all want the same thing, right? And they're just confusing about there's fear and confusion about what the other is going to do, and what the other wants. That's going to detract from me, and I think restorative justice will allow that to occur. Will allow for the empathy to be built between the two groups.
Well said.
For them to understand. So
yeah,
I don't know if you want to answer that or not, but
no, well said. What I will support what you're saying is, as a consultant who's been doing restorative justice for a long time, not just where we work, because I get to be pulled in as an expertise, as a consultant, as a strategist all over, now internationally, right? And it's interesting that people really, really find value when things are happening.
Well, that was a lot of great insight you provided us, and I'm sure people are going to appreciate it. Hearing about the stories of restorative justice and the work that you have done and the possibilities for restorative justice. Is there any last words you want to be able to tell the community about what restorative justice is and how they can actually benefit from it?
Yeah, well, before I say my closing thoughts, I just want to take an opportunity to let everybody know and let you know from my heart that out of all the folks that I've ever got to work with in the world of education, specifically public education, you are one of the stellar men and people who are really doing the work, man. Like more than what you know, more than who you know, more than what you aspire to do or be. You are one of those people who really put in the work and you care.
Thank you.
I know you can't always show how much you care and how much you feel about this work. This beautiful opportunity to educate people with other people in the field. But I think it's worth it, man. So I appreciate you for all the things you have done and continue to do. For those who are watching, I would say restorative justice is a term that gets put on people who are doing certain kind of work, but it's really just an invitation for us to do what we said. Like many of us have been raised in families, even practice spiritual communities, beliefs that reflect that we care about others, that we will forgive, that we will heal, that we will be compassionate, we will help those who have needs. And restorative justice is one of the tools that encourages us and reminds us to do that good work, that best self. Who am I really? What do I really believe in? That's what I hope that they will get from restorative justice.
Man, that was powerful. Powerful. So thank you.
Yeah, man.
I appreciate you, man.
It's an honor every time. Yeah, man.
All right. Folks, we'll see you next time. Stay tuned for more podcasts to come and more content.